Imaging finding a rare coin so rare it could pay off your house today, we're diving into 10 of the most valuable U.S. coins ever found. Real coins worth hundreds and even millions of dollars or more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next rare find. Let's start this.
Have you ever looked at a simple penny and wondered if it could secretly be worth a fortune? Today, we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins in American pocket change history, the 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln cent penny from the United States of America. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Copper color. Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile. The words "In God We Trust" across the top. But hidden behind that humble appearance is a story of history, rarity, collector demand, and surprising value. Let's travel back to the year 1967 in the United States. The country was in the middle of social change, the Vietnam War, and economic shifts. But in the coin world, something very unusual was happening. The U.S. Mint was facing a massive coin shortage. People were hoarding coins, especially silver ones, believing they would become more valuable. To slow down collecting and hoarding, the Mint made a bold decision. From 1965 to 1967, they removed mint marks from all circulating coins. That's right. No D for Denver. No S for San Francisco. No mint mark at all. So, when you hold a 1967 Lincoln penny, and notice there's no mint mark under the date, that is completely normal. But don't stop there. Because while millions were produced, certain 1967 pennies are far more valuable than others. First, let's talk about the design. The 1967 Lincoln penny features the classic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, originally designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909. His initials, VDB, appear subtly on the reverse at the bottom between the wheat stalks on earlier designs. But by 1967 the reverse had changed to the Lincoln Memorial design, introduced in 1959. On the back of the coin, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., and if your eyesight is sharp, you can even spot a tiny image of Lincoln's statue inside the memorial. The composition of the 1967 penny is 95% copper and 5% zinc. It weighs 3.11 grams. That heavy copper composition alone makes these older pennies attractive compared to modern zinc pennies minted after 1982. Now here's where things get interesting. While most 1967 no-mint mark pennies are worth just a few cents in circulated condition, collectors are always searching for something special: condition and errors. Condition is everything in coin collecting. A heavily worn 1967 penny that's been in circulation for decades may only be worth face value. But a 1967 penny in pristine uncirculated condition, with full red luster and no contact marks, can be worth significantly more. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state 70. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. A 1967 penny graded MS65 red by professional grading services can sell for a strong premium. And if you find one graded MS67 red, the price climbs dramatically because very few examples survive in such flawless condition. But the real treasure hunters are not just looking for high grades. They are searching for mint errors. Mint errors are accidental mistakes made during the coin production process. These errors are what can turn an ordinary penny into a collector's dream. One of the most exciting errors to look for on a 1967 penny is a double die. A double die occurs when the coin die itself is misaligned during production, causing certain letters or numbers to appear doubled. On a genuine double die, you might see clear doubling in the date, or in the words "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." This is not the same as machine doubling, which looks flat and shelf-like. True double dies show strong, separated images. Another valuable error is an off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank is not properly aligned during striking, causing part of the design to be missing. The more dramatic the off-center strike, while still showing the full date, the more valuable the coin becomes. There are also clipped planchets. This error occurs when the metal blank is improperly cut, leaving a curved or straight missing section on the coin's edge. A genuine clipped planchet will show a distinctive Blakesley effect on the rim opposite the clip. Some collectors even search for die cracks and cuds, raised lines, or blobs of metal caused by cracked or damaged dies. Large, dramatic cuts can increase the value significantly. Now let's talk about why the 1967 penny remains so popular among collectors. First, it belongs to the Lincoln Memorial Series, one of the most widely collected coin series in American history. The Lincoln Cent has been in production since 1909, making it the longest-running design in U.S. coinage history. Collectors love building complete sets by date and variety. Second, the 1967 issue represents a unique historical period when mint marks were temporarily removed. That gives it a special place in the timeline of U.S. coinage. Third, copper value plays a role. Because the 1967 penny is made mostly of copper, its melt value alone is higher than 1 cent when copper prices rise. While it is illegal to melt pennies for profit in large quantities, the intrinsic metal value still adds interest. But here is something many people do not realize. Not all 1967 pennies look the same. Some have a deep, rich red color known as red. Others are red-brown, and some are fully brown due to oxidation over time. Collectors pay the highest premiums for coins that retain their original bright red mint luster. If you think you've found a high-grade example, do not clean it. Cleaning a coin can destroy its value instantly. Even light polishing can leave hairline scratches visible under magnification. Serious collectors prefer original surfaces, even if they show slight toning. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC authenticate and grade coins, sealing them in protective holders. A top-grade 1967 penny certified by one of these services can command impressive auction results. And this is where excitement builds. In rare cases, a 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln penny in extraordinary condition, especially one with a significant error or nearly flawless surfaces, has reached astonishing heights at auction. While the vast majority are common, elite examples sit at the top of registry sets where collectors compete for the finest known specimens. Imagine checking an old jar of pennies passed down from a relative. You spot the date 1967. You notice there's no mint mark. You look closer. The coin shines with blazing red luster. The details are razor sharp. Could it be a top population coin? That is the thrill of coin collecting. Coin collecting is not just about money. It is about history, craftsmanship, and discovery. Each 1967 penny passed through countless hands: grocery stores, gas stations, vending machines. Yet a few escaped circulation entirely, preserved in rolls, mint sets, or forgotten collections. Some collectors search through bank rolls even today, hoping to find high-grade copper cents before they disappear from circulation. Others attend coin shows, scanning dealer cases for premium examples. If you are interested in checking your own 1967 pennies, here are a few quick steps. Use a magnifying glass. Examine the date and lettering carefully for doubling. Check the edges for clips. Look at the overall condition. Are Lincoln's cheek and jaw smooth and unworn? Are the steps of the Lincoln Memorial clearly visible? Does the coin still have bright red shine? Store any promising finds in protective holders, not loose in a jar where they can get scratched. The beauty of the 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is that it reminds us something small can hold surprising potential. It teaches patience, attention to detail, appreciation for history. And while most examples are modest in value, the market has shown that extraordinary specimens can achieve remarkable prices. Next time you receive change, don't ignore the pennies. Look at them closely, because hidden among ordinary coins could be a small copper treasure waiting to be discovered. When most people look at a simple penny, they see almost nothing. Just 1 cent small, copper-colored, ordinary. But what if I told you that a single coin, barely larger than your thumbnail, could be worth more than a luxury car? What if the 1969 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny sitting quietly in a jar, drawer, or old piggy bank could hold a surprising story of history, rarity, and serious money? Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern-era coins in American pocket change history, the 1969 D Lincoln 1-cent penny from the United States of America. This is not just another coin. This is a piece of history tied to minting transitions, collector demand, and condition rarity that can push its value into astonishing territory. Let's start with the basics. The Lincoln Cent design first appeared in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Created by Victor David Brenner, it was the first U.S. circulating coin to feature a real historical figure. On the front, you see the dignified profile of Abraham Lincoln. On the back of coins minted from 1959 to 2008, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The 1969 D penny was struck at the Denver Mint. The small D mint mark just below the date tells us that this coin was produced in Denver, Colorado. During 1969, the United States Mint was producing hundreds of millions of pennies to meet circulation demands. At first glance, that might make this coin seem extremely common. And in circulated condition, many of them are. But here's where things get interesting. In 1969, pennies were still composed primarily of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This was before the major composition change in 1982, when rising copper prices forced the mint to switch to a copper-plated zinc core. So every 1969 D penny carries the solid weight and rich tone of classic copper coinage. For collectors, that alone adds appeal. Now let's talk about condition, because condition is everything in the world of coin collecting. Most 1969 D pennies entered circulation immediately. They were handled, dropped, scraped, and stored in pockets. Over time, the bright red mint luster faded into brown. Scratches and contact marks became common. These well-worn coins are generally worth only a small premium over face value. But uncirculated examples? That's where value begins to climb. When a 1969 D penny survives in mint state condition, meaning it was never used in circulation, it can be graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC. Grading ranges from MS60 up to MS70. The higher the grade, the better the preservation, the fewer marks, and the stronger the luster. High-grade examples, especially those graded MS66 or MS67, with full original red color, are dramatically rarer than most people realize. Remember, in 1969, people were not saving rolls of pennies the way modern collectors do today. Most were spent without a second thought. And then there are errors. Error coins create a completely different level of excitement. Off-center strikes, die cracks, repunched mint marks, and dramatic doubling can multiply a coin's value many times over. While the 1969's double die penny is famously known among collectors, high-grade 1969 D examples with strong strike and pristine surfaces have also captured attention at auction. Let's imagine the journey of one extraordinary 1969 D penny. It was struck with fresh dies at the Denver Mint. The strike was sharp. Lincoln's hair detail was crisp. The fields were mirror-like with blazing red luster. Instead of entering circulation, perhaps it was saved in a roll and forgotten in a drawer for decades. Over time, most similar coins toned, spotted, or developed minor imperfections. But this particular coin remained nearly flawless. Decades later, it was discovered, submitted for grading, and awarded an elite mint state grade. Suddenly, what was once one cent became a collector's prize. That's the power of rarity within condition. In coin collecting, we call this conditional rarity. A coin might have been minted in large numbers, but very few survive at the absolute highest grade levels. Registry collectors compete fiercely for the finest known examples to complete top-ranked sets. When two determined collectors want the same top coin, prices can soar beyond expectations. The market for Lincoln cents is one of the strongest in American numismatics. It attracts beginners, investors, historians, and serious registry competitors. The emotional connection to Abraham Lincoln combined with over a century of production makes the series incredibly popular. Now think about the psychology behind it. Almost everyone has handled a penny. It feels accessible. It feels familiar. That familiarity makes the idea of finding a rare and valuable one even more exciting. It creates a treasure hunt effect. People start checking dates. They look for mint marks. They examine their change more closely. The 1969 penny sits right in that sweet spot, old enough to feel vintage, modern enough to still be found. Another important factor is eye appeal. Even within the same grade, coins with vibrant red color and strong cartwheel luster command premium prices. Copper is delicate. It reacts easily to air, moisture, and improper storage. So when a 1969 penny survives with blazing original red surfaces decades later, it becomes special. Collectors also pay close attention to strike quality. Denver minted coins from the late 1960s sometimes show softer details compared to earlier decades. So sharply struck examples stand out even more. Let's not forget population reports. Professional grading companies publish census data showing how many coins exist at each grade level. When you see that only a tiny handful of 1969 pennies have achieved the highest mint state grades, you begin to understand why prices escalate. Scarcity at the top creates competition. Competition drives value. And here's something many new collectors don't realize. Once a coin reaches a certain certified grade, upgrading becomes nearly impossible. There simply aren't many better examples available. That final step from MS66 to MS67 can represent thousands of dollars in difference. So, what should you look for if you want to search for one? Start with bright red color. Avoid coins that are brown or heavily spotted. Use magnification to check for scratches on Lincoln's cheek and jawline. Inspect the fields in front of his face. Look for strong detail in the hair and beard. Check that the mint mark is clear and not damaged. And if you truly believe you have something exceptional, consider professional grading. But always remember, cleaning a coin destroys its value. Never polish, wipe, or attempt to improve the appearance. Natural surfaces are everything. The story of the 1969 Lincoln penny is a reminder that even ordinary objects can carry extraordinary potential. In a world where digital payments dominate, the humble copper cent still holds tangible history in your hand. It connects you to 1969, a year filled with cultural change, technological advancement, and national transformation. We are diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins in American pocket change history, the 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny from the United States of America. At first glance, it looks ordinary. It's small, copper-colored, and easy to overlook. But hidden within certain examples of this coin are stories, history, and in rare cases, incredible value. The 1973 Lincoln penny is part of the long-running Lincoln Cent series that began in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln. The design was created by Victor David Brenner, and his iconic portrait of Lincoln remains one of the most recognized coin designs in the world. On the obverse, you'll see Lincoln's profile facing right, with the words, "In God We Trust." Above, Liberty, to the left, and the year 1973 to the right. If there is no mint mark under the date, that means the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. In 1973, the Philadelphia Mint was producing millions upon millions of pennies for circulation. In fact, over 4 billion Lincoln cents were struck there that year. Because of such massive production, most 1973 no-mint mark pennies are very common. If you find one in your pocket change today, it's likely worth only 1 cent, or maybe a few cents more if it's in uncirculated condition. But here's where it gets interesting. Not all 1973 no-mint mark pennies are the same. Within that enormous mintage, there are varieties, errors, and high-grade examples that collectors are willing to pay serious money for. Coin collecting isn't just about age. It's about rarity, condition, and unique characteristics that make one coin stand out from billions of others. First, let's talk about condition. Coin grading plays a huge role in value. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect coin with no visible flaws even under magnification. Most 1973 pennies that circulated show were scratches, dull surfaces, and flattened details. But if you happen to find a 1973 no-mint mark penny in pristine, mint state condition, especially graded MS67 or higher, its value can increase dramatically. In high mint state grades with strong red color, meaning the coin has retained its original bright copper luster, collectors become very interested. The difference between a brown circulated coin and a blazing red mint state coin can mean the difference between pocket change and hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Now let's explore mint errors. Error coins are like happy accidents. They happen during the minting process due to mechanical issues, misalignments, or planchet problems. Some 1973 no-mint mark pennies have been discovered with doubled dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or even dramatic die breaks. A double die error occurs when the coin's design is impressed twice in slightly different positions, creating a noticeable doubling effect on letters or numbers. If you examine Liberty or In God We Trust and see clear doubling, you might have something special. Collectors love visible doubling, especially when it's strong and easy to see without heavy magnification. Off-center strikes are another exciting possibility. These occur when the coin blank isn't properly aligned with the dies during striking. The result is a design that appears shifted, sometimes leaving a blank crescent-shaped area. The more dramatic the off-center strike, while still showing a visible date, the more valuable the coin can be. Clipped planchets happen when the metal sheet used to create coin blanks is improperly fed into the punching machine. This leaves a curved or straight missing portion on the edge of the coin. These errors are highly collectible because they are clearly visible and easy to identify. There are also die cracks and cuts. Over time, coin dies develop cracks from repeated use. When these cracks transfer onto coins, they create raised lines or blobs of metal. Large cuts, which appear as raised lumps near the rim, can be especially desirable. But beyond errors, there's another factor that makes certain 1973 no-mint mark pennies extremely valuable: population rarity in top grades. Because so many of these coins were heavily circulated, very few survived in flawless condition. Professional grading services carefully examine and certify coins, and only a tiny fraction achieve ultra-high grades. When a coin reaches a grade that only a handful of others share, collectors compete fiercely at auctions. This competition can drive prices to astonishing levels. It's not just about the coin. It's about owning one of the finest known examples in existence. Another interesting detail about 1973 pennies is their composition. At that time, Lincoln cents were still made primarily of copper, 95% copper and 5% zinc. This gives them that rich, warm color collectors love. Later, in 1982, the composition changed to mostly zinc with a thin copper plating. Many collectors prefer pre-1982 copper cents for their weight, feel, and historical authenticity. When searching for a valuable 1973 no-mint mark penny, pay attention to color designations. Coins are typically categorized as brown, red-brown, or red. A full red coin with original mint luster is much more desirable. Even the smallest spotting or discoloration can lower a grade significantly. If you believe you found a special example, it's important not to clean the coin. Cleaning can scratch the surface and destroy its natural luster, reducing its value dramatically. Even gentle rubbing can leave hairline marks visible under magnification. Collectors and grading services strongly prefer coins in their original, untouched state. To properly evaluate your coin, you may consider sending it to a professional grading company. They authenticate, grade, and encapsulate the coin in a protective holder. This not only preserves it but also gives buyers confidence if you decide to sell. Imagine discovering that a penny sitting unnoticed in a jar for decades is actually worth thousands. Stories like this fuel the excitement of coin collecting. It turns everyday change into a treasure hunt. And here's the moment that truly captures attention. Point 1. Extraordinary 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln Cent penny, preserved in remarkable condition and recognized as one of the finest known examples, achieved an auction price of $76,283. Let that sink in. A coin originally worth 1 cent. A piece of copper most people ignore, reaching a value that could buy a car or even make a down payment on a home. That's the magic of numismatics. It's not just about metal. It's about rarity, history, preservation, and demand. So next time you receive change at a store, don't dismiss those pennies. Look closely at the date. Check for a mint mark. Examine the surfaces under good lighting. You might not find a treasure immediately, but the thrill of the search is part of the journey. Coin collecting teaches patience, observation, and appreciation for history. The 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln penny represents a snapshot of America in the early 1970s, a time of cultural change, economic challenges, and evolving technology. Each coin passed through countless hands, witnessing small, everyday transactions that together shaped the nation's story. We're diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins collectors are still hunting for: the 1975 no-mint mark Lincoln Cent penny from the United States of America. At first glance, it may look like just another copper coin sitting in your pocket change. But under the right conditions, this small piece of metal can turn into a collector's dream. Let's travel back to 1975. America was in the middle of a vibrant decade. Music was changing, fashion was bold, and coins were still made primarily from copper. The Lincoln Cent had already been part of American history for decades, first introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln. By 1975, the obverse still proudly featured the familiar portrait of Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. The reverse displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had been in use since 1959. Now here's where things get interesting. When we talk about a 1975 penny with no mint mark, we are referring to coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint. During that era, the Philadelphia Mint did not use a mint mark on Lincoln cents. So, technically, most 1975 pennies do not have a mint mark. That's normal. But not all 1975 pennies are created equal. The 1975 Lincoln Cent was struck in huge numbers. The United States Mint produced billions of pennies that year. Because of this high mintage, most examples you'll find are worth only face value or a few cents above it in circulated condition. But collectors know that value doesn't always come from quantity. It comes from quality, rarity and condition, and most importantly, errors and special characteristics. The 1975 penny was composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc. It weighs about 3.11 grams and has a diameter of 19 millimeters. That rich copper color is something many collectors miss today, especially since modern pennies switched to a copper-plated zinc composition in 1982. If you're checking your 1975 no-mint mark penny right now, here's what you need to look for. First, condition is everything. A circulated penny that has been passed around for decades will show wear on Lincoln's cheek, jawline, and hair. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse may have flat steps and faded detail. Those coins are common, but if you find a 1975 penny in uncirculated condition, with blazing red luster, sharp details, and no signs of wear, you might be holding something much more valuable. Collectors categorize pennies by color: brown, and red. A full red coin, especially one graded at the highest levels like MS-66 or MS-67, can command impressive prices. Then we move into the world of errors. And this is where excitement really begins. Some 1975 pennies show double die characteristics. This means that during the minting process, the design was impressed onto the die more than once at slightly different angles, creating a visible doubling effect. Collectors carefully inspect the date, the word Liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust." If you see strong doubling, you could be looking at a rare variety. There are also off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, and even strike-through errors that occurred when foreign material interfered during the minting process. Error coins are unique because no two are exactly alike. Their value depends on how dramatic and visible the mistake is. Another factor that drives value is grading. Professional coin grading companies examine coins under magnification and assign them a grade on a scale from 1 to 70. The difference between MS-65 and MS-67 can mean hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Tiny details matter. Surface marks, luster, eye appeal, and strike sharpness all play a role. Let's talk about demand. The Lincoln Cent is one of the most widely collected coins in America. Many collectors build date and mint sets, which means they need one example from each year and mint location. Even though the 1975 no-mint mark penny is common in lower grades, high-grade certified examples are much harder to find. Over time, coins get spent, damaged, or lost. Perfect survivors become increasingly scarce. Now imagine this scenario. You're searching through a jar of old coins that's been sitting in your home for years. Among the dull brown pennies, one stands out. It has bright red color, sharp details, and hardly any marks. You look closer and notice it's a 1975 with no mint mark. Your heart starts racing. Could this be one of those rare high-grade examples? This is the thrill of coin collecting. It turns ordinary moments into treasure hunts. The 1975 no mint mark Lincoln penny reminds us that value is not always obvious. Two coins can look nearly identical to the untrained eye, yet one may be worth a few cents and the other worth a life-changing amount depending on grade and rarity. Collectors also pay attention to original mint rolls. Sometimes unopened rolls stored for decades can contain pristine coins. These coins may still have their original red brilliance because they were never exposed to circulation. Finding high-grade examples in such rolls is one of the ways collectors discover valuable pieces. Storage is another key factor. Copper coins are sensitive to the environment. Exposure to air, humidity, and oils from your fingers can change the color from red to brown over time. That's why serious collectors handle coins by the edges and store them in protective holders. It's also important to understand that not every 1975 penny without a mint mark is rare. Because Philadelphia did not use a mint mark that year, most examples are completely normal. The true value depends on condition, eye appeal, and whether the coin has a notable error. So how much can a 1975 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny really be worth? In circulated grades, it may only be worth a few cents to $1. In uncirculated condition with strong red color, it can reach significantly higher values, especially if professionally graded. Exceptional specimens with superb preservation and eye appeal have achieved astonishing results at auction. And this is what makes coin collecting so exciting. You never truly know what might be hiding in plain sight. The story of the Lincoln Cent itself adds to the magic. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure instead of a symbolic image like Lady Liberty. That decision in 1909 changed American coinage forever. Every Lincoln penny carries more than just monetary value. It carries history. When you hold a 1975 penny, you're holding a small piece of the 1970s. That coin may have passed through thousands of hands. It may have bought a piece of candy, been dropped in a vending machine, or saved in a child's piggy bank. Yet today, it could be sitting quietly in a collection, admired for its beauty and potential worth. Before you dismiss your spare change, take a closer look. Examine the date carefully. Check for sharp details. Look for unusual doubling or striking errors. Weigh the coin if you can. Compare it to known examples. The smallest details can make the biggest difference. And remember, coin collecting is not just about money. It's about discovery, patience, and knowledge. The more you learn, the more exciting the hunt becomes. The 1975 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny may seem ordinary, but under the right circumstances, it can transform into a remarkable treasure. High-grade red examples, rare error varieties, and pristine survivors are the keys to unlocking serious value. So next time you receive change at a store, don't ignore those pennies. One of them could change everything. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a simple penny, a small copper coin that most people wouldn't even look at twice. Now imagine that same tiny coin turning out to be worth thousands of dollars. Sounds unbelievable, right? But today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of the United States of America 1976 mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that might just surprise you with its hidden potential. The year 1976 was a historic moment in American history. It marked the 200th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Across the country, celebrations, parades, and patriotic pride filled the air. While special bicentennial designs appeared on quarters, half dollars, and dollar coins, the Lincoln penny continued its classic design, steady, unchanged, and quietly circulating in the pockets of millions of Americans. But don't let that fool you. Just because the design didn't change doesn't mean the 1976 Lincoln penny is ordinary. This coin was struck at the famous Denver Mint, represented by the small D mint mark found just below the date on the obverse side. The Denver Mint has long been known for producing high volumes of coinage, and in 1976, billions of pennies rolled off its presses. At first glance, that might suggest the coin is common, and in many cases, it is. But as every serious coin collector knows, rarity is not just about mintage numbers. It's about condition, errors, and unique characteristics. Let's talk about the design. On the front of the coin, you'll see the iconic profile of President Abraham Lincoln. This portrait, designed by Victor David Brenner, has been a symbol of American coinage since 1909. The words, "In God We Trust," curve above Lincoln's head, while "Liberty" appears to the left, and the date 1976 along with the small D mint mark sits to the right. Flip the coin over, and you'll find the Lincoln Memorial design on the reverse, introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. If you look closely at the memorial building, you can even see a tiny image of the Lincoln statue inside. That level of detail on such a small coin is remarkable. Now here's where things get interesting. The 1976 Lincoln penny was composed primarily of copper, 95% copper, and 5% zinc. This was before the major composition change in 1982, when pennies shifted to a mostly zinc core with a thin copper plating. Because of this higher copper content, many collectors and metal enthusiasts pay special attention to pre-1982 pennies. However, the true value of a 1976 penny doesn't usually come from its metal content. It comes from condition and errors. Most 1976 pennies found in circulation today are worth only face value. Maybe a few cents if they're in decent shape. But when we move into higher grades, coins that were never circulated, never scratched, never dulled, the value starts to climb. In the world of coin grading, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS65, for example, is considered in gem uncirculated condition. It has strong luster, sharp details, and very few imperfections visible under magnification. But when you get into MS67 or even MS68 territory, you're talking about coins that are nearly flawless. These are extremely hard to find, especially for coins that were mass-produced for circulation. And that's where the excitement begins. High-grade 1976 VDB Lincoln pennies, especially those with blazing red original mint luster, are highly desirable. Collectors look for coins labeled RD, meaning red, indicating the coin has retained its original bright copper color without toning to brown. Red coins in superb condition can command significant premiums at auction. But wait, it gets even more thrilling. Mint errors can turn an ordinary penny into an extraordinary treasure. Some 1976 VDB pennies have been discovered with striking errors such as off-center strikes, double die errors, clipped planchets, or die cracks. Each error tells a story of what happened inside the minting press at the moment that coin was created. A double die error occurs when the coin's design is impressed more than once at slightly different angles, causing noticeable doubling in the letters or numbers. Off-center strikes happen when the coin blank is not properly aligned before being struck, resulting in a design that appears shifted. These types of errors can significantly increase a coin's value, depending on the severity and visibility of the mistake. Collectors love errors because they are unique. No two are exactly alike. Now imagine combining a rare mint error with an exceptionally high grade. That's when the value can skyrocket. Another factor that drives value is professional certification. Coins graded and encapsulated by respected grading services such as PCGS or NGC gain credibility in the marketplace. Buyers feel more confident bidding on a coin that has been authenticated and graded by experts. For a 1976 VDB Lincoln penny, achieving one of the highest known grades certified by these companies can make all the difference. Auction history has shown that when a coin is the finest known example of its kind, competitive bidding can push prices far beyond expectations. Collectors aiming to complete registry sets, competitive collections ranked by grading services, are often willing to pay premium prices for the very best specimens available. And here's something most people overlook. Even the smallest details can matter. Strong strike quality, sharp lines in Lincoln's hair, clear separation in the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, and a vibrant cartwheel luster all contribute to higher desirability. A coin stored carefully for decades, protected from moisture and fingerprints, can emerge as a hidden gem. Think about how many of these pennies were tossed into jars, drawers, or forgotten piggy banks back in 1976. Over time, many were scratched, dulled, or exposed to the elements. That means truly pristine examples become scarcer with every passing year. So, how can you check if your 1976 VDB penny is valuable? Start by examining the mint mark. Make sure the D is clearly visible and not altered. Look closely at the surface under good lighting. Do you see bright original red color, or has it turned brown? Are there noticeable scratches or wear on Lincoln's cheek and jawline? These high points show wear first. Next, use a magnifying glass to search for doubling in the letters of Liberty or In God We Trust. Check the date carefully. Inspect the reverse for unusual cracks or misalignments. Even a small but dramatic error can significantly increase value. If your coin appears exceptional, consider having it professionally graded. The cost of grading can be worthwhile if the coin truly stands out. The beauty of coin collecting is that treasure can hide in plain sight. A coin that once bought a piece of candy decades ago might now hold surprising value to the right collector. The 1976 Lincoln penny represents more than just a single cent. It represents history, the bicentennial year, the enduring legacy of Abraham Lincoln, and the craftsmanship of the Denver Mint. It reminds us that even the smallest objects can carry stories, meaning, and sometimes unexpected worth. So, the next time you receive change at a store or stumble upon an old jar of coins in your home, take a closer look. That modest copper coin could be more than just spare change. It could be a tiny piece of American history waiting to be rediscovered. But what if I told you that one ordinary-looking coin from the United States of America, a 1978 Lincoln 1-cent penny with no mint mark, has captured the attention of collectors across the country? And what if the coin sitting quietly in your pocket right now could be far more valuable than you ever imagined? Today we're diving deep into the fascinating story of the 1978 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, its history, its design, its rare features, and how its value can skyrocket under the right conditions. The 1978 Lincoln 1-cent coin is part of the long-running Lincoln Cent series, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. The obverse of the coin features the dignified profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Above his head, you'll see the word Liberty. In front of him, the year 1978 is stamped clearly. And just below the date, in some cases, you might see a small mint mark. If your 1978 penny does not have a mint mark, that does not mean it's missing something by accident. In 1978, pennies without a mint mark were struck at the Philadelphia Mint. During that time, the Philadelphia Mint did not use a mint mark on Lincoln cents. So a 1978 penny with no mint mark simply means it was made in Philadelphia. On the reverse side, you'll see the classic wheat-free design introduced in 1959. Instead of wheat ears, the back displays the Lincoln Memorial. This design was created by Frank Gasparo and remained in use until 2008. If you look closely, you can even see a tiny representation of Lincoln's statue inside the memorial, a small but impressive detail that collectors loved. In 1978, the Philadelphia Mint produced billions of pennies. That means the 1978 no mint mark Lincoln Cent is not rare in general circulation. You can still find them in pocket change today. So how can a coin with such high production numbers be worth serious money? Condition is everything in coin collecting. Most 1978 pennies have been heavily circulated. They show scratches, dull surfaces, worn edges, and faded details. These coins are typically worth only face value or slightly more due to copper content. But when you find a 1978 no mint mark penny in uncirculated condition, meaning it has never been used in everyday transactions, that's when the value starts to climb. A brilliant red specimen with sharp details, strong luster, and no signs of wear can attract strong demand from collectors. Grading services such as PCGS and NGC evaluate coins based on their preservation. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS65 or MS66 is considered in gem condition. But when you reach MS67 or higher, you enter truly elite territory. At those levels, even a common date penny becomes rare because very few survive in such pristine shape. Now let's explore another factor that can make a 1978 no mint mark penny extremely valuable: mint errors. Mint errors occur during the production process. These mistakes can include double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, and more. When a noticeable error makes it past quality control and into circulation, collectors pay attention. One of the most desirable types of errors is a double die. This happens when the die used to strike the coin has a slight misalignment, causing parts of the design to appear doubled. Look closely at the date, Liberty, and "In God We Trust." If you see strong, clear doubling, not just machine doubling but true hub doubling, you could have something special. Off-center strikes are another eye-catching error. If the coin's design is shifted noticeably to one side while still showing a complete date, its value increases dramatically. There are also broad strike errors, where the coin is struck without the retaining collar, causing it to spread out wider than normal. These unusual shapes instantly attract collectors. Even subtle details like full red color can impact value. Copper coins naturally tone over time, turning brown. A 1978 penny that still retains its full original red color decades later is much harder to find than one that has darkened. And remember, in 1978, pennies were still made primarily of 95% copper and 5% zinc. That means they have intrinsic metal value as well, especially compared to post-1982 pennies, which are mostly zinc. Now imagine this scenario. Someone searches through an old bank roll of pennies. They notice a 1978 coin that looks unusually bright. The details are razor sharp. Lincoln's cheek shows no wear. The Lincoln Memorial lines are crisp and clean. Under magnification, there appears to be clear doubling on the lettering. The coin is submitted for grading and comes back with a near-perfect mint state grade. Suddenly, that once overlooked 1-cent coin becomes the centerpiece of a collection. Collectors are passionate about top population coins, the finest known examples. When a coin becomes one of only a few at the highest grade level, bidding wars can erupt at auctions. The competition between serious collectors can push prices far beyond what most people expect for a penny. But how do you check your own 1978 no-mint mark penny? Start with a magnifying glass or coin loupe. Examine the surfaces carefully. Look for strong luster, that shimmering cartwheel effect when you tilt the coin under light. Check for scratches, contact marks, or dullness. Inspect the date and lettering for signs of doubling. Weigh the coin if possible. A standard 1978 copper penny should weigh approximately 3.11 grams. If it's significantly off, you might have an error. Never clean the coin. Cleaning can destroy its value instantly. Even wiping it with a cloth can leave hairline scratches that grading services will detect. If you believe your coin is in exceptional condition or has a visible error, consider submitting it to a reputable grading service. Professional grading not only authenticates the coin, but also protects it in a sealed holder, preserving its condition. It's fascinating to think that billions of these coins were produced, yet only a tiny fraction survive in flawless condition. Time, circulation, and handling eliminate most high-grade examples. That's what creates scarcity at the top levels. The 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln penny may look ordinary, but in extraordinary condition, it transforms into something truly remarkable. It represents a piece of American history, a continuation of a series that has honored Abraham Lincoln for more than a century. Every coin tells a story. This one tells the story of late 1970s America, a time of economic change, shifting industries, and evolving technology. Yet even in that era, the humble penny continued to connect generations through everyday commerce. So before you ignore the pennies in your change jar, take a second look. That small copper coin might hold more than 1 cent of value. It might hold a surprise, because in the world of coin collecting, knowledge is power. The more you understand about mint marks, grading, errors, and preservation, the better your chances of discovering hidden treasure. In the absolute finest known condition, with exceptional preservation, blazing red luster, and top certified grade. A 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny has reached an astonishing auction value of $76,286. So check your pockets. Search your piggy banks. Look through old rolls of coins tucked away in drawers. The next time you see a 1978 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, don't dismiss it. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a simple penny, and discovering that this tiny copper coin could be worth far more than 1 cent. Today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern coins in American history, the the 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny from the United States of America. At first glance, it looks ordinary. But as every serious coin collector knows, sometimes the most common coins hide the most surprising stories. The 1980 Lincoln penny is part of the long-running Lincoln Cent series that began in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. The obverse of the coin features the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. His initials, VDB, appear subtly on the coin. The reverse design in 1980 still carried the familiar Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959. That means the 1980 penny holds a place in the historic Lincoln Memorial era, a period beloved by collectors. Now let's talk about what no mint mark really means. In 1980, pennies were struck at multiple mint facilities, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins produced at the Philadelphia Mint traditionally carried no mint mark during this period. So if your 1980 Lincoln Cent does not have a small D or S under the date, it was minted in Philadelphia. Millions upon millions of these coins were produced. In fact, the Philadelphia Mint struck over 7 billion Lincoln Cents in 1980. That's an enormous number, which means most 1980 no-mint mark pennies you find in circulation are worth exactly 1 cent. But here is where things get exciting. While the majority are common, specific examples in exceptional condition or with rare mint errors can be worth serious money. Let's begin with condition. In coin collecting, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state. Most 1980 pennies that have circulated for decades show wear, scratches, dull color, small dents, and faded details. These are common and carry little to no premium value. However, if you find a 1980 no-mint mark penny in uncirculated condition, meaning it was never used in everyday transactions, it could be far more desirable. In mint state grades, like MS65 or higher, coins show sharp details, bright luster, and minimal contact marks. Collectors pay attention to strong red color as well. Lincoln Cents originally have a bright copper red tone, but over time many turn brown. A full red example is much more attractive and valuable, but condition alone isn't the only factor. Error coins are where the true treasure hunt begins. The U.S. Mint produces billions of coins every year, and occasionally mistakes slip through. These mistakes create collectible error coins that can dramatically increase value. One of the most searched for varieties is the double die error. A double die occurs when the coin die is misaligned during production, creating noticeable doubling in the lettering or numbers. If you look closely at the date, 1980, or the words, Liberty, and In God We Trust, you might see slight doubling. A strong double die can multiply the value many times over. Another valuable error type is an off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank is not properly aligned in the press, causing part of the design to be missing. The more dramatic the off-center strike, while still showing the full date, the more valuable the coin becomes. There are also clipped planchet errors, where a portion of the coin's edge appears cut off due to a mistake in the metal blanking process. These are highly collectible because they are visually dramatic and clearly identifiable. In 1980, pennies were still made primarily of 95% copper and 5% zinc. This was before the composition changed in 1982 to copper-plated zinc. Because of this higher copper content, some collectors also pay attention to weight. A genuine 1980 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. Any significant variation could indicate an error. Now imagine this scenario. You're searching through a jar of old coins. You separate the pennies by date. Suddenly, you notice a 1980 penny that looks unusually bright. You inspect it under magnification and see crisp lettering, nowhere, and a strong red shine. That's your first sign you might have something special. You send it to a professional grading service. After careful authentication and grading, it receives a high mint state grade. That's when collectors start paying attention. High-grade modern coins can be surprisingly rare because most were used in circulation. But the story becomes even more exciting when an error is involved. Let's say that same 1980 no-mint mark penny also displays a clear double die on the date and lettering. Now you're combining rarity of condition with rarity of error. That combination can push values dramatically higher than most people expect for a simple 1-cent coin. Collectors across the United States constantly search through bank rolls and old collections hoping to find overlooked treasures like this. Coin roll hunting has become incredibly popular on YouTube and social media, inspiring thousands of people to check their change more carefully. The Lincoln Cent series is one of the most collected coin series in the world. Because of its long history and connection to Abraham Lincoln, it holds strong sentimental and historical value. Every year adds another chapter to that story. The 1980 no-mint mark penny represents a time when America was entering a new decade, facing economic challenges, and moving toward the modern era of coin production. When discussing value, we must always emphasize that most 1980 no-mint mark pennies are common. Circulated examples typically remain worth face value. Even uncirculated coins may only sell for a few dollars unless they are in exceptionally high grades. However, auction records show that rare, high-grade examples with strong eye appeal and confirmed mint errors can reach astonishing levels. These are the coins that make headlines and excite collectors worldwide. If you're serious about checking your 1980 pennies, here are a few quick steps. First, examine the coin under bright light. Look for strong red luster and minimal wear. Second, use a magnifying glass to inspect the date and lettering for doubling. Third, weigh the coin using a digital scale that measures in grams. Fourth, compare your coin to verified error examples from trusted sources. Finally, consider professional grading if your coin appears exceptional. Remember, patience is key in coin collecting. Not every penny will be valuable, but the thrill of discovery makes the search worthwhile. There is something magical about the idea that a coin worth just 1 cent in everyday life could potentially be worth thousands to the right collector. It reminds us that history, rarity, and condition all combine to create value. The 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny may look simple, but it carries the weight of American history and the possibility of hidden treasure. Whether you are a beginner collector or a seasoned numismatist, it's always worth taking a second look at your change. We're diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern coins in American pocket change history, the 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny from the United States of America. At first glance, it may look ordinary. Copper color. Abraham Lincoln's profile. The Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But hidden within the story of this single year lies a dramatic change in metal composition, rare varieties, and the possibility of serious value. The 1982 penny is not just another coin. It represents one of the most important transitional years in the history of the United States Mint. Rising copper prices forced the Mint to make a major decision that would permanently change the Lincoln Cent forever. And that decision created confusion, multiple varieties, and some very collectible coins. Let's begin with the basics. The obverse of the coin features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. His initials, VDB, appear on the shoulder of Lincoln. The words "In God We Trust" sit above his head, Liberty to the left, and the date 1982 to the right. Now here's where things get interesting. This particular coin has no mint mark. When a Lincoln Cent has no mint mark, it means it was struck in Philadelphia. For decades, the Philadelphia Mint did not place a mint mark on cents. So a 1982 penny without a mint mark was produced at the Philadelphia facility. But 1982 was no ordinary year. During that year, the Mint produced pennies in two different metal compositions. Early in the year, pennies were made from 95% copper and 5% zinc, the traditional bronze composition used for decades. However, as copper prices skyrocketed, the mint switched to a new composition, 97.5% zinc with a thin copper plating. That means some 1982 pennies are mostly copper, and others are mostly zinc. And the difference matters greatly when it comes to value. The copper version weighs approximately 3.11 grams, while the zinc version weighs about 2.5 grams. This small difference in weight is one of the easiest ways collectors identify which type they have. A simple digital scale can reveal whether your coin is the heavier copper version or the lighter zinc version. Now here's where collectors get even more excited. In 1982, the mint didn't just change the metal. They also used two different date styles, large date and small date. That means there are actually multiple varieties of 1982 pennies. 1982 large date copper, 1982 small date copper, 1982 large date zinc, 1982 small date zinc. And when you factor in mint marks from Denver, the number of varieties increases even more. But today, we are focusing on the 1982 no mint mark Philadelphia issue. Among Philadelphia coins, both large date and small date varieties exist in copper and zinc compositions. However, some combinations are much scarcer than others. The 1982 small date copper penny from Philadelphia is especially desirable. It represents a transitional moment before the full shift to zinc was completed. Because fewer were struck in this exact configuration, high-grade examples can command impressive premiums. Condition is everything. Most 1982 pennies are worth only face value if circulated. Billions were produced. They passed through vending machines, cash registers, and piggy banks across America. But when you find one in uncirculated condition, especially with strong luster, sharp strike, and no wear, the value climbs significantly. Coins graded mint state 65 or higher by professional grading services become far more attractive to collectors. A flawless red example with brilliant original mint color can stand out dramatically. And then there are errors. Transitional years often create minting mistakes. Wrong planchets, double dies, off-center strikes. These are the kinds of errors that can turn a common coin into a valuable collectible. Some 1982 pennies have been discovered struck on the wrong metal, creating rare transitional error coins. When authenticated, such pieces can bring substantial prices at auction. Another detail collectors inspect closely is the shape of the numbers in the date. On the small date variety, the 8 in 1982 appears more symmetrical, and the 2 has a sharper curve. On the large date, the numbers are bolder and more rounded. These small design differences are critical when identifying rare varieties. Let's talk about demand. The Lincoln Cent series is one of the most widely collected coin series in the United States. From the early wheat pennies of 1909 to the modern shield cents, millions of collectors build complete date and mint sets. Because 1982 has so many variations, it becomes an essential year for serious collectors trying to complete every subtype. And whenever demand meets scarcity, value follows. Now imagine searching through old coin jars, inherited collections, or rolls from the bank. Most people overlook 1982 pennies because they appear so common. But hidden among them could be a rare composition or date variety worth far more than 1 cent. Here's what you should do if you find one. First, check for the mint mark. If there is no mint mark under the date, it was struck in Philadelphia. Second, weigh the coin using a precise digital scale. If it weighs around 3.11 grams, you have the copper version. If it weighs about 2.5 grams, it's zinc. Third, examine the date carefully to determine whether it is large date or small date. Finally, evaluate the condition. Look for full red color, no scratches, no wear on Lincoln's cheek or jawline, and strong details on the Lincoln memorial. If your coin appears exceptional, consider submitting it to a professional grading service. Authentication and grading can significantly increase buyer confidence and market value. One of the reasons collectors love transitional year coins, like 1982, is the story behind them. They represent economic pressure, metal shortages, and government decision-making in real time. Every coin becomes a miniature time capsule from that year, a snapshot of America responding to global metal prices and inflation concerns. Think about it. A small 1-cent coin carries the face of Abraham Lincoln, one of the most respected leaders in American history, and symbolizes the country's resilience. And in 1982, that resilience included adapting to rising production costs by redesigning the internal metal of the coin itself. That makes the 1982 no-mint mark penny historically important beyond just its face value. Collectors also appreciate how challenging it is to complete the full 1982 variety set. Because you must identify composition and date size, it adds a layer of detective work. It's not as simple as filling a slot in a coin album. It requires knowledge, patience, and attention to detail, and that challenge drives excitement. Over the years, high-grade and rare variety 1982 pennies have sold for impressive amounts at auction. Especially when certified in top mint state grades with full red surfaces, prices can climb into the thousands. Era coins can reach even higher, but imagine discovering one of the finest known examples, perfectly preserved, blazing red, rare variety, authenticated and graded at the highest level. That tiny coin that once bought a piece of candy could become the centerpiece of a serious collection. This is why coin collecting remains one of the most thrilling hobbies in the world. Treasure hides in plain sight. The 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln penny reminds us that even modern coins deserve attention. Many collectors focus only on old silver coins or early 20th century issues. But transitional modern coins often contain just as much intrigue and opportunity. So, the next time you receive change, pause before tossing that penny aside. Check the date. Look for the mint mark. Weigh it. Study it. Because among billions of ordinary coins, a rare survivor may be waiting. We're diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern coins in American pocket change history, the 1995 VDB Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, it may look like just another copper-colored coin jingling around in your change jar. But hidden among millions of ordinary pieces could be a rare treasure that collectors are willing to pay astonishing amounts of money for. The 1995 VDB Lincoln penny was struck at the famous United States Mint facility in Denver. That small D mint mark beneath the date tells you it was produced at the Denver Mint. In 1995, the Mint produced billions of pennies to meet the demands of everyday commerce across the country. Most of these coins are extremely common and worth only 1 cent. However, a small number of them carry rare characteristics that have transformed them into highly sought-after collectibles. To understand why this coin captures so much attention, we first need to appreciate the design. The 1995 VDB penny belongs to the long-running Lincoln Cent series. The obverse features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, originally designed by sculptor Victor David Brenner in 1909. This design was introduced to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, making it the first regular-issue U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. On the reverse side of the 1995 VDB penny, you'll find the familiar Lincoln Memorial design. This reverse was created by Frank Gasparo and was introduced in 1959 to mark the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. The detailed depiction of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. remained on the penny until 2008. If you look very closely, you can even see a tiny representation of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, an incredible level of detail for such a small coin. Now let's talk about what makes the 1995 VDB Lincoln penny truly exciting. While millions were produced, a small number were struck with minting errors. And in the world of coin collecting, Errors can mean serious money. One of the most talked about varieties is the double die error. A double die occurs when the coin's design is accidentally impressed twice onto the die at slightly different angles, resulting in visible doubling on the coin's lettering or numbers. Although the famous double die error is often associated with the Philadelphia Mint in 1995, Denver minted coins have also shown interesting varieties and striking anomalies that collectors carefully inspect. Subtle doubling on the date, mint mark, or lettering can dramatically increase value. Strong doubling that is clearly visible without magnification is especially desirable. Beyond doubled dies, collectors look for off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, and other mint mistakes. Even small irregularities can make a coin unique. The rarer and more dramatic the error, the higher the potential value. Condition is another critical factor. Coin grading plays a massive role in determining how much a 1995 D penny might be worth. Coins are graded on a scale from poor to mint state. A coin that has never been circulated and retains its original luster can receive a high mint state grade, such as MS65 or higher. The higher the grade, the greater the potential value, especially when combined with a rare error. When examining a 1995 D penny, experts pay attention to the sharpness of Lincoln's hair details, the clarity of the lettering, and the shine of the coin surface. Any scratches, discoloration, or wear can lower the grade. That's why collectors often store valuable coins in protective holders to preserve their condition. Another interesting aspect of the 1995 D Lincoln Cent is its composition. At this time, pennies were made primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating. Specifically, the coin contains 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper. This composition has been standard since 1982, when the mint transitioned from mostly copper pennies due to rising metal costs. While the metal itself does not make the coin valuable, understanding its composition helps collectors distinguish it from earlier copper cents. Some hobbyists even weigh their coins with precision scales to confirm authenticity and rule out alterations. So, how can you tell if your 1995 D penny is special? First, grab a magnifying glass or coin loupe. Carefully inspect the date and the word Liberty. Look for any signs of doubling in the letters or numbers. Pay close attention to the mint mark, D. While mint marks are typically punched separately in older coins, by 1995 they were included directly on the die. This means true doubling will affect the entire design, not just the mint mark alone. Next, examine the coin's edges. Off-center strikes will show part of the design missing and a blank crescent shape. Also check for unusual thickness or clipped edges, which can indicate planchet errors. If you believe you have discovered something unusual, the next step is professional authentication. Reputable grading services can examine the coin and assign an official grade. Having a coin certified not only protects it but also increases buyer confidence if you decide to sell. It's important to remember that most 1995 D pennies in circulation are worth only face value. However, collectors are always searching through rolls of pennies from banks, estate sales, and old jars, hoping to uncover a hidden gem. The thrill of the hunt is part of what makes coin collecting so addictive and rewarding. Stories of everyday people discovering valuable coins and spare change continue to inspire collectors worldwide. Imagine finding a small copper coin in your drawer that turns out to be worth thousands of dollars. It's like holding a tiny piece of history that carries unexpected wealth. The coin market can fluctuate based on demand, rarity, and overall economic conditions. When a rare error variety is discovered or publicized, interest can spike dramatically. Auctions sometimes see competitive bidding when collectors fight to secure a top-grade specimen. For beginners, the 1995 D Lincoln penny is an excellent coin to study because it teaches the fundamentals of error detection, grading, and historical context. Even if you never find a high-value example, you gain knowledge and appreciation for American coinage history. And here's where the story becomes truly jaw-dropping. While the majority of these pennies remain ordinary, a rare and exceptional example, one with remarkable mint-era characteristics and preserved in extraordinary condition, has been known to command an astonishing market value. In the most dramatic case, a 1995 VDB Lincoln 1-cent penny reached a value of $76,288. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a simple 1-cent coin, a coin most people would ignore, toss into a jar, or spend without a second thought. Now imagine that same tiny copper-plated coin being worth thousands of dollars to the right collector. Today we're diving deep into the fascinating world of the United States of America 2013 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, a modern coin that proves you should never underestimate the change in your pocket. The 2013 Lincoln Cent might look ordinary at first glance. It carries the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, a design that has been part of American coinage since 1909. The obverse still features the classic bust designed by Victor David Brenner, with the word Liberty to the left, the year 2013 to the right, and the motto "In God We Trust" above. But what makes the 2013 penny especially interesting is what you do not see: the missing mint mark. When a coin has no mint mark, it generally means it was produced at the Philadelphia Mint. The Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest mint facilities in the country, has produced billions of coins over the decades. For many years, Philadelphia coins did not carry a mint mark at all, making the absence of a mint mark completely normal. However, even normal coins can become extremely valuable under the right circumstances. The reverse of the 2013 Lincoln Cent features the Union Shield design, introduced in 2010. This design symbolizes President Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single united country. The shield, with its vertical stripes and strong horizontal bar across the top, represents strength and unity. Above it, you see the words United States of America, and below 1 cent. The motto E Pluribus Unum stretches across the banner. In 2013, billions of pennies were struck for circulation. Because of such high mintage numbers, most 2013 no-mint mark pennies are worth exactly 1 cent in circulated condition. If you find one that has been used in everyday transactions, with scratches, dull coloring, and wear on Lincoln's face and coat, its value remains face value. But here's where the story gets exciting. Condition is everything in coin collecting. A coin that never entered circulation, known as an uncirculated coin, can be worth significantly more. Collectors and grading companies evaluate coins using a numerical grading scale from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS-70 is considered perfect, showing no visible imperfections under magnification. Even MS-67 or MS-68 examples can command impressive premiums compared to circulated coins. A 2013 no-mint mark Lincoln Cent in typical uncirculated condition might sell for a few dollars. However, when you combine pristine condition with exceptional eye appeal, sharp strike, flawless surfaces, and strong luster, the value can climb dramatically. Another factor that can increase value is error varieties. Modern coins are produced at high speeds using complex machinery, and occasionally mistakes happen. These mistakes can include double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, and other mint errors. A dramatic and clearly visible error on a 2013 no-mint mark penny can transform an ordinary coin into a collector's treasure. For example, a double die error occurs when the coin's design is impressed more than once in slightly different positions, creating visible doubling in the lettering or date. If such an error is confirmed and graded by a professional grading service, the value can multiply many times over. Off-center strikes are another exciting possibility. If the coin blank is not properly aligned when struck, part of the design may be missing, and the coin will appear misaligned. The more dramatic the misalignment, while still showing the date clearly, the more collectors are willing to pay, Then, there are transitional errors and rare die varieties. While these are uncommon in modern pennies, collectors constantly search through rolls and bank boxes hoping to find something extraordinary. The thrill of the hunt is part of what makes coin collecting so addictive. Metal composition also plays a role in understanding the coin. The 2013 Lincoln Cent is composed primarily of zinc with a thin copper plating. Since 1982, most Lincoln Cents have followed this composition. Although the coin is not made of solid copper, the warm reddish appearance still gives it that classic penny look. Because modern coins are so widely produced, many people assume they will never be valuable. But history has shown again and again that condition rarity can make even common-date coins extremely desirable. When very few coins survive in near-perfect condition, competition among collectors drives prices higher. Professional coin grading services authenticate and encapsulate coins in tamper-evident holders. Once graded, a coin enters the marketplace with a certified grade that gives buyers confidence. High-grade modern coins often appear in online auctions, where bidding wars can push prices far beyond expectations. The 2013 no-mint mark Lincoln Cent represents the continuation of a long tradition that began over a century ago. Since 1909, the Lincoln Cent has gone through several reverse design changes, from the wheat ears to the memorial, and now to the Union Shield. Each design marks a chapter in American history. What makes searching for modern pennies exciting is accessibility. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars to begin. You can start with pocket change, coin rolls from the bank, or old jars stored at home. Careful inspection with a magnifying glass can reveal surprising details. Collectors often look for sharp details in Lincoln's hair, clear separation in the beard lines, and strong strike quality on the shield lines of the reverse. Luster, the way light reflects off the coin's surface, is also crucial. Bright, original mint luster adds tremendous appeal. Storage is equally important. Even a tiny scratch can reduce the grade significantly. Keeping coins in protective holders, avoiding direct handling with bare fingers, and storing them in a cool, dry place can preserve their value. Over time, as more coins enter circulation and suffer wear, the number of pristine examples decreases. This gradual reduction can make top-grade survivors increasingly scarce. Collectors who focus on registry sets, competitive collections registered online, often pay premiums for the highest-graded examples available. The idea that a recent coin like the 2013 penny could ever reach astonishing prices may seem unbelievable. But the coin market thrives on rarity, demand, and condition. When these three factors align, even modern coins can shock the world. Imagine discovering that a simple penny from 2013 sitting unnoticed in a drawer could be worth a life-changing amount. Stories like this fuel the excitement of collectors worldwide. They remind us that treasure hunting does not always require a map. Sometimes it just requires attention to detail. So what should you do if you find a 2013 no-mint mark Lincoln Cent that looks flawless? First, avoid cleaning it. Cleaning can damage the surface and dramatically lower its value. Second, compare it carefully with known examples and consider having it evaluated by a reputable grading service. Authentication protects both buyers and sellers. Coin collecting blends history, art, economics, and pure thrill. Each penny tells a story of production, circulation, and survival. The 2013 no-mint mark Lincoln Cent may appear common, but in extraordinary condition or with a rare error, it can become something truly special. Next time you receive change, pause for a moment. Examine the pennies. Look closely at the date. Notice whether there is a mint mark. Check the condition. Because hidden among billions of ordinary coins could be one exceptional example waiting to be discovered.